If you can dance this waltz, I'll adopt you." Ronald Whitmore didn't raise his voice, but it landed like a gavel in the ballroom. Laughter thinned, glassware went still. Heads turned toward the little girl at the edge of the marble floor. Bare feet, loose hem, one hand clutching a battered portable radio like a lifeline. A woman in diamonds smirked. "Is he serious?" Ronald took a measured sip of scotch, eyes never leaving the girl. "If she stumbles even once," he added, "she goes back to where she came from." A thin hiss moved through the guests. Someone whispered, "Is this a joke?" Another, "This is cruel." By the French doors, Samuel, sun-browned, in a clean but tired jacket, stood rigid, knuckles white. "Anna," he breathed, barely audible, "stay back." Anna looked across the floor at the billionaire. Small, square-shouldered, she raised her chin. "I'm not a mouse," she said, steady as a held note, "and you don't scare me." A ripple, half disapproval, half admiration. Ronald's mouth twitched. "Brave little weed." "I might be," Anna said, "but weeds grow where your roses die." She walked to the center of the floor and set her radio down. Static. Then the thin, heroic swell of the blue Danube in tinny waves. She put one foot forward, and a boy stepped out from the far side of the room. "I'll dance with her," he said. Gasps, sharper this time. Ethan Belmont, hair neat, blazer a touch too big, scanned the room with a senator's son's composure. His mother's voice sliced from their table. "Ethan, now." He didn't look back. He offered his hand to Anna. "You shouldn't have to be alone." She looked at the hand, then at him. "You sure?" "No," he admitted, a quick grin, "but I'm here." Her fingers slid into his. For a heartbeat, she seemed lighter. "You scared?" Ethan whispered as the music gathered them. "I'm scared of stopping," Anna said. "Then let's not stop." They began badly, of course they did. His elbow too high, her weight too forward, a half beat late on the first turn. A titter from a cluster near the orchestra. But the children adjusted, listening to each other more than the room. Step, sway, breathe. Ethan counted under his breath. Anna followed, then led, then simply moved with him, stubborn and sure. Ronald lowered his glass. The dance wasn't beautiful in the way the ballroom expected. It was clumsy, barefoot, uncoached. Yet something in it, its refusal to wilt, cut through the silk and gold like fresh air after a storm. By the third phrase, the jeers had nowhere to land. "I've never danced before," Ethan murmured. "Me neither," Anna said, a sideways smile. "We'll fake it better together." They glided into a turn that almost failed, almost, and didn't. A small cheer died on someone's lips, embarrassed to have escaped. At the edge of the floor, Samuel stood so still he looked carved from oak. When Anna glanced his way, just once, his eyes said both no and go. She chose go. The radio crackled bravely toward the coda. They finished on the only ending they had. Hands still joined, chests heaving, a last step landing in the right place at the right time. Silence. Then the ballroom remembered itself and breathed. Anna turned to Ronald. "Well," she asked, not loud, not soft. "Do you keep your word, or only when it's easy?" For a moment, he looked like a man waking in the wrong house. He glanced to the guests for the old cues: mockery, applause, permission. The room had changed. No one smirked. A few were trying not to smile. Most were just watching him. He set his glass down, brushed an invisible speck from his lapel. "I keep my word." Thin applause started, awkward and polite, then fell off. The orchestra leader nodded to no one in particular and pretended to check sheet music. Anna's fingers slipped from Ethan's. "Thanks," she said. "You were amazing," he said, flushing. "Also, I'm dizzy." She laughed, quick and breathless. The laugh vanished when Samuel reached them, face red with fear and pride. "You shouldn't have." "I had to," Anna said. "He dared me."
"Dares from powerful men aren't games," Samuel said softly. "They're traps." "I didn't fall in," she said. He studied her, bare feet on cold marble, chin still up. "No," he admitted, voice breaking with relief. "You didn't." A young man in a fitted black suit appeared, expression neutral, timing perfect. Mr. Whitmore would like to see the girl in the study. Samuel stepped forward before Anna could answer. For what? To discuss terms. Anna tugged his sleeve. "I'll go." "Only if I come too," Samuel said. The aide gave a small nod. "As you wish." As they crossed the ballroom, Ethan fell in beside Anna, walking half a step behind, not sure if he was allowed to accompany them and doing it anyway. Near the doorway, his mother's hand caught his arm. He glanced at Anna, then let himself be steered away, guilt flickering across his face. The study door closed behind Anna and Samuel with a heavy, moneyed thud. The room was wood and leather and control. Ronald Whitmore sat behind a desk that could anchor a ship, fingers steepled, gaze exact. "You made quite an impression," he said. Anna didn't answer. "You embarrassed me," he continued, "in public." "You said if I danced, you'd take care of me," she said. "I did," he allowed, "and I will. But this isn't a fairy tale. I'm not a prince. This isn't a castle, and I don't tell bedtime stories." "I don't need stories," Anna said. "I need a chance." He looked over her head at Samuel. Schooling, private, uniforms, tutoring, meals. She stays here, supervised. "She needs love, not logistics," Samuel said. "She'll get safety, stability, structure." "I can see her every day?" Samuel pressed. "Yes," Ronald said, flat as a contract. "But she'll be under my care." Anna's voice slipped in before the men hardened the shape of her life. "Can I keep my radio?" Ronald blinked. "Your what?" "The thing that plays the waltz." A flick of his hand. "Fine." "And visit my mom's grave on Sundays?" A thinner pause. "Acceptable." "And dinner with my grandpa on Fridays?" Something like a smile, small, accidental, touched his mouth. "You're already making demands," she said. "I'm making agreements," she said. Samuel coughed into his fist to hide a laugh he wasn't allowed. Ronald leaned back, studying the girl like an unsolved riddle. "Fine, but under my roof you'll learn discipline. There will be no pity here." "I don't want pity," Anna said, "just space to grow." For the first time he stood. He was taller than he'd looked seated, and older. He extended his hand. "Welcome to Whitmore Estate." Anna looked at it, then shook it. Not as a child shakes a stranger's hand, but as someone signing a truce neither side had prepared for. Outside, the piano in the ballroom found a safe waltz again. Inside, 3 people stood in the thin air after a bargain. The aide reappeared. "Arrangements?" Ronald nodded. "Start tonight." As they left, Samuel's hand found Anna's shoulder. "One step at a time," he murmured. She nodded, eyes catching on a framed photograph half hidden on a shelf. A girl in a ballerina dress, mid-spin, a blur of joy. And then the door closed. Back in the hall, Ethan was waiting where he shouldn't have been, pretending to study a painting. He straightened when he saw Anna. "You okay?" "I think so," she said. "Good." He hesitated. "You'll be here tomorrow?" She glanced toward the study. "Looks like it." He grinned, relieved and worried all at once. "Then I'll see you tomorrow." A housekeeper cleared her throat, not unkindly. "Miss Lawrence," she said to Anna, tasting the new name. "Mr. Whitmore would like you to rest. Big day tomorrow." Anna picked up her radio. It was scuffed and ugly and perfect. She hugged it to her chest like proof that the world could still play her song. Behind her, the study door clicked shut again. Inside, deals were already becoming rules. Outside, the marble floor remembered bare feet, and a room learned it could hold its breath for the right reason. Anna's first morning at the Whitmore estate felt more like judgment than welcome. The bedroom was larger than the kitchen she used to share with Samuel, the sheets so soft she barely dared move. She sat upright, staring at high windows and golden frames, unsure if she had woken in a hotel, a dream, or a trap. Downstairs, the mansion buzzed. Maids polished banisters until they glowed. A chef shouted orders in the kitchen, and gardeners hauled crates toward the greenhouse. Anna trailed a housekeeper named Claire, clutching her small radio as if it were a passport. The dining room was cavernous. A table meant for 20 had only 2 settings. At the far end, Ronald Whitmore read the Wall Street Journal, black coffee cooling beside him. He didn't look up. "Sit," he said. Anna climbed into a chair too tall for her, toes dangling. A butler placed a silver plate in front of her. Eggs, bacon, toast in triangles. She stared. "Is something wrong?" Ronald asked, folding his paper. "I usually have cereal," she said. A long beat, then a nod to the butler. "Cereal tomorrow." Anna blinked. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Ronald said. "This isn't a free ride. You'll be tested. Schoolwork, etiquette, discipline. I'll expect nothing less than excellence." Her throat tightened. She thought of the waltz, of Ethan's hand steadying hers. Will Ethan be there? Ronald's brow lifted. The Belmont boy? No, he's a guest, not a servant. Don't confuse kindness for commitment. The words stung. She stayed silent, but her grip on the spoon whitened. Later that morning, Anna was led into a bright study lined with books. Miss Valerie, the tutor, stood stiff as a fence post. Hair pulled into a bun so tight it seemed to pinch her thoughts. She announced without preamble. "We start with posture and grammar. Speak like a lady. Stand like a lady. Think like one." Anna spent hours repeating, copying, reciting. Her fingers cramped, her back ached, but she refused to complain. Not once. At lunch, she slipped outside, finding Samuel among the marigolds. His hands were calloused, moving instinctively through the soil. "You okay, Pumpkin?" he asked. "I think my brain's full," she sighed, dropping onto the bench. "That means it's growing," he said gently. "I miss our porch," she whispered, "and your burnt toast." He smiled sadly. "Me too."
Her eyes narrowed. "Do you think Mr. Whitmore meant it? That I'll really stay here? Or is he waiting for me to mess up?" Samuel looked down at the dirt in his palms. "Ronald Whitmore keeps promises, especially the ones he makes in public. But whether he keeps them with heart, we'll see." That afternoon, Anna was brought back to the same ballroom where she had danced the night before. A man in a velvet waistcoat introduced himself as Mr. Frederick, the dance instructor. He bowed dramatically, then barked, "Back straight, elbows up, no flapping. This is not barnyard dancing." Anna tried. She slipped once, caught herself, and kept going. Sweat clung to her dress. Frederick snapped at her again and again, but she bit her lip and moved forward, refusing to yield. From the doorway, a quiet voice cut in. "Your left turns are better." Anna spun. Ethan leaned against the frame, grinning. "You watched?" she asked. "Couldn't help it. You kinda take over a room." Her cheeks flushed despite herself. "Mr. Whitmore says you're just a guest." "I'm a guest with a bike," Ethan said. "Want to sneak a ride later?" She hesitated. "I'm not allowed off the property." "The path's behind the greenhouse. No one will see." A thrill pressed against her ribs. She nodded. At sunset, Anna tiptoed past the fountain and met Ethan near the garden gate. 2 bikes leaned against the wall, one clearly borrowed from staff. They rode without helmets, without rules, just laughter and the slap of wind. At the top of a grassy hill, they stopped, breathless. "You're not what I expected," Ethan said. "What did you expect?" "Someone quiet, someone scared." "I am scared," Anna admitted. "You don't look it. I just got good at hiding it." He was quiet, then said, "You're going to change this place." Anna blinked. "What do you mean?" "I don't know, but when you danced last night, everything shifted, like you cracked something open." She looked at the horizon, stars pricking the purple sky. "I just danced." "Yeah," Ethan said softly, and everyone saw it. When she crept back into the house, Claire was waiting at the door. "You're not supposed to be out," she scolded gently. Anna's stomach dropped.
Until Claire leaned closer and whispered, "Mr. Whitmore said, let her have the hill." Anna froze. Something had shifted again. Not the whole house, not Ronald, but something. A sliver of trust. A beginning. The estate was a maze of polished corridors and cold portraits. Most doors opened to libraries or sitting rooms, but one stood out. Plain white paint, chipped edges, a brass knob. Anna found it one afternoon, wandering between tutoring lessons and dance drills. She hesitated, then pushed. The hinges groaned. Inside, dust, sheets draped over furniture, air faintly lavender. Against the far wall hung a photograph. A girl mid-spin in a ballerina dress, smile bright, eyes alive. She looked about Anna's age. Her name was Elise. Anna startled. Ronald Whitmore stood in the doorway, face unreadable. "Who was she?" Anna whispered. "My daughter," he said. "She died when she was 7. A car crash. My wife too." "I wasn't home," Ronald continued, voice flat but cracking at the edges. "I was in Tokyo, closing a deal. I missed her last recital. Watched the recording on the flight back. 6 hours too late." Anna turned back to the photo. "She looks happy." "She was," Ronald said, "until the world reminded us it doesn't care how much money you have." Silence pressed heavy, broken only when Ronald pulled a cloth from an old music box. He wound it. A melody flowed out, delicate, mournful.
"She danced to this," he said, over and over, said it made her feel like flying. Anna stared at the chipped ballerina twirling on top of the box. "Why did you bring me here?" Ronald's eyes fixed on her. "Because tomorrow you'll stand in front of people at the community center. I need you to understand something. You're not just a symbol. You're a memory in motion. You remind me of what I forgot." "And what's that?" "That grace isn't about perfection," Ronald said. "It's about showing up when you don't have to." Anna thought of her torn dress on the marble floor, of Samuel's tired hands, of Ethan's quiet courage. She nodded. "Then I'll tell them the truth, about where I come from and where I want to go." Ronald studied her, then inclined his head. "If you do, they'll listen." The next evening, velvet curtains parted at the new community center. Anna stood backstage in a pale yellow dress Claire had chosen, hands clammy. The murmur of the crowd swelled, donors, politicians, families, all waiting. Samuel put a hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to be anyone but you." "I'm scared," Anna whispered. "That's how you know it matters." Then Ethan appeared beside her in a blazer, hair combed. He pressed a folded slip of paper into her hand. "A poem," he said, "in case you want to end strong." She smiled, steadied by his presence. On stage, Ronald's voice carried. And now, a voice that proves courage has no pedigree. Miss Anna Lawrence. Anna stepped into the light. Silence fell. "My name is Anna," she began. "I don't come from wealth. I don't come from perfect circumstances. But I come from love, from my grandfather's garden, from a radio that played waltzes in the dark, from a mother who taught me that being small doesn't mean being weak." She drew a breath. "I live now in a big house with long hallways and rules I'm still learning. But I don't belong to that house. I belong to something bigger, the belief that anyone, no matter how broken or barefoot, can dance their way into a better life." Applause broke out, scattered, then rising. Anna unfolded Ethan's note and read the final lines. "If you see a child dancing alone, don't look away. She might be rehearsing for the moment her world changes." The crowd surged to its feet. Ronald didn't smile, but he touched his chest once and nodded. For Anna, that was enough. 3 days after the community center event, shaky phone footage of Anna's speech had traveled far beyond Brookhaven. Book clubs replayed it, church groups quoted it, local newspapers ran headlines about the barefoot girl who made billionaires listen.
At the estate, Claire slid a magazine across the breakfast table. On the cover, Ronald Whitmore, stiff in a tailored suit, standing beside Anna in her yellow dress. The headline read, "Whitmore's New Legacy." Anna frowned. What does legacy mean? Ethan, who had come by with his father's discarded paper, hesitated. It means they think you're his project, maybe even his replacement. But I'm not, she said. I'm just me. Sometimes, Ethan murmured, being just you is what makes people nervous. The nerves soon showed. At lunch, two overdressed guests whispered behind linen napkins, loud enough to hear. That's the girl, right? The gardener's granddaughter? Charity case. She speaks too well, must be coached. Anna poked at her salad, appetite gone. Claire squeezed her hand under the table. Smile and stand taller, she whispered. That unsettles people more than tears. But the whispers followed Anna into lessons. Miss Valerie's corrections grew sharper. Staff members who once smiled now offered polite nods only. The house felt colder, as if success had lit a match that others wanted quickly snuffed out. One evening, Ronald summoned Anna to his study. He didn't look up when she entered. Papers covered the desk, contracts stacked like bricks. "You'll attend a brunch this Sunday," he said, "with the mayor's wife and the Women's Arts Council. They requested you personally." Anna froze. "But Sundays I go to the cemetery with Samuel, for my mom." Ronald's eyes stayed on the page. "This is important. She's important too." His pen paused. Silence filled the gap. At last he sighed, closed the folder, and met her eyes. "You'll go Saturday instead. I'll arrange the car." Anna nodded stiffly. "Thank you." But when she left, her chest felt fractured. Samuel's warning echoed. Dares from powerful men aren't games, they're traps. The trap tightened days later. A leak reached the press. Ronald's will. Anna's name appeared inside. Claire told her in hushed tones by the greenhouse, "If anything happens to him, you could inherit everything." Anna's stomach dropped. "But I don't want that." "It doesn't matter what you want," Claire said. "Others do, and now they know." The effect was immediate. Conversations hushed when she entered rooms. Some servants stopped including her favorite tart on the dessert tray. Board members questioned Ronald's judgment. One night, passing the study, Anna overheard raised voices. "She's from nothing," a lawyer snapped. "She'll return to nothing if you don't stop this." "She's a child," Ronald replied, "a smart one, the only person in this house who tells me the truth." Anna backed away, heart hammering. The next morning, she found Ronald alone in the greenhouse, trimming orchids with unusual care. She blurted before fear could stop her, "Did you really put me in your will?" He didn't flinch. "I did." "Why?" "Because you're the only one here who tells me the truth." Her voice cracked. "But now they hate me. They think I'm here to take everything." He looked up, eyes tired. "Do you want everything?" "No," she said fiercely. "I just want people to stop seeing me as a threat." Ronald set the shears down. "Then we'll show them what legacy really looks like." Anna frowned. "And what does that mean?" "It means we build something bigger than this house," he said, "and we let them watch you do it." That night, Anna sat by her window, her radio humming softly. Beyond the estate walls, strangers debated her name in headlines and hashtags. Inside, corridors whispered suspicion. Yet in the glass reflection, she saw something else, a girl still standing, still moving. She whispered to herself, "If I could dance through that night, I can dance through this." And so the next step began, not a waltz, but a war of perception. Anna didn't sleep the night after Ronald's words in the greenhouse. "Build something bigger than this house." The phrase repeated itself until it became a plan. The next morning, she marched into the library where Ronald sat by the fire. "I want to start a program," she said without hesitation. He lowered his paper. "A program? For girls like me, smart, curious, but from nowhere fancy. a place where they can learn without being laughed at, where they don't have to pretend to belong. Ronald arched an eyebrow. "You're 11. "I'll be 12 in 4 months, Anna countered. "Besides, you told me legacy is what we build. Let me build something." He studied her long enough to make her shift uncomfortably. Then, draft a proposal. Present it at next week's donor brunch. Anna blinked. "You're serious?" "As serious as your ambition." The days that followed were a storm. Anna scribbled late into the night, Claire helping her shape words into paragraphs, Ethan proofreading her notes, Samuel suggesting names. Finally, they settled on one, the Elise Initiative, after Ronald's daughter. On the day of the brunch, Anna stood before 24 powerful men and women. She clutched her pages but spoke without trembling. "I don't want to be the exception," she said. "I want to be the beginning." The room stilled. Even the mayor's wife dabbed her eyes. One donor rose. "Who's advising her?" "No one," Ronald replied, pride lacing his tone. "She's advising us." Applause followed. Real applause. But at the back of the room stood a tall man in a sharp suit, smiling without warmth. Claire whispered later, "Mr. Davenford, Ronald's oldest rival, dangerous in a polite way." Within weeks, support for the Elise Initiative grew. Donors pledged funds. Local newspapers celebrated the idea. Teachers sent letters begging for inclusion. Anna's schedule exploded. Lessons in the morning, drafting plans in the afternoon, speeches in the evening. At night, she fell asleep over her radio, dreaming of classrooms filled with light. But the house changed. Some staff grew colder. Miss Valerie, once strict but fair, now looked at Anna as if she were a trespasser. Whispers thickened. Then came the greenhouse. Anna found it one crisp morning. The door stood ajar. Inside, chaos. Rows of tomatoes toppled, pots smashed, irrigation lines slashed. Samuel's prized orchids wilted, their heat lamp deliberately miswired to burn them. Her chest tightened. Who would do this? Samuel's face paled. These plants were fine last night. He touched a broken stem with trembling hands. Whoever did this knew exactly what to hit. Within the hour, Ronald arrived with 2 security officers. He scanned the wreckage, jaw tight. "Did you see anyone?" he asked Anna. "No," she said, "only the open door." Samuel rose slowly, brushing soil from his palms. This wasn't vandalism. It was a warning. That night, Ronald appeared in the music room with a tablet. "We found something." Anna sat up. "Who was it?" He played the grainy footage. A hooded figure slipped through the greenhouse door, pausing just enough for the camera to catch her face in profile. Anna's breath caught. "Miss Valerie?" Ronald nodded grimly. "She once worked for Davenford's sister. This morning, we traced a wire transfer. She was paid to stir chaos." Anna's fists clenched. "So this wasn't about plants. It was about scaring me into silence." "No," Ronald said quietly. "It was about scaring you into stopping." Anna shook her head. "Then they don't know me." For the first time in weeks, Ronald allowed a thin smile. That's exactly why they're worried. The next day, Miss Valerie was gone. No announcement, no explanation, just absence. But the damage lingered. At the board meeting, nervous donors questioned whether Anna should remain the face of the initiative. "She's too young," one insisted. "She invites chaos," another said. Ronald leaned back in his chair. "She is the initiative. Without her, it's just philanthropy for show." Still, compromise came. A co-chair would be appointed, an adult with experience. Anna would remain the public voice, but decisions would pass through the board. She swallowed her pride and agreed. If it keeps the doors open, it's worth it. That night, Samuel found her on a garden bench, hugging her knees. "Why do they hate me?" she asked. "They don't hate you," he said. "They fear what you represent." "And what's that?" "That the future might not need them." Anna stared into the dark. Then she whispered, "Then I'll plant louder." The Elise Initiative was only weeks old when the storm arrived. At first, everything looked like triumph. Donors pledged money, reporters called it visionary, teachers mailed letters begging to enroll their students. The estate buzzed with activity, meetings, planning sessions, deliveries of books and supplies. But in houses like Whitmore's, storms always found their way inside. One morning, Claire carried an envelope into the dining room. Her hands shook slightly as she placed it beside Ronald's plate. He slid it open with a silver knife, scanned the page, and his jaw tightened. "What is it?" Anna asked, leaning forward. Ronald folded the paper slowly. "Davenford, and 3 other donors. They're pulling their funding." The air thinned. "Why?" Anna demanded. "Because they don't want me vulnerable," Ronald said flatly, "and right now they think you make me vulnerable." Anna's fists curled against her lap. "They're wrong." "Perhaps," Ronald said, "but perception is power. They don't need to be right. They only need others to wonder." Anna swallowed hard. "Then let me fight back." Ronald raised an eyebrow. "And how do you propose to do that?" "I'll write. My own words, not yours, not theirs, mine." That night, she turned her small bedroom into a newsroom. Pages covered the desk. Claire helped with spelling. Ethan proofread grammar. And Samuel brought mugs of cocoa until his hands were dusted with ink smudges. By dawn, Anna's article was finished. "We inherit both pain and power, and I choose to use the second to heal the first." The piece ran in 3 local newspapers. Within days, it spread further, into classrooms, church bulletins, and community boards. Teachers tacked it to bulletin boards. Parents underlined her sentences. A girl from a neighboring town mailed Anna a drawing of a flower, taped to the column. For the first time since the ballroom waltz, Anna felt like she wasn't dancing alone. But applause is never the whole story. The board of the initiative called an emergency session. Anna was not invited, but she listened outside the oak doors as voices rose and cracked. "She's a child," one donor barked. "Unstable, unpredictable. We're risking everything." "She's already cost us 3 major backers," another snapped. "The optics are dangerous." Inside, Ronald's voice cut through. "She is the initiative. Without her, it's philanthropy for show." A long pause. Then another man murmured, "Then she needs a co-chair, an adult, someone to temper her recklessness." Anna's throat tightened. She turned away before she could hear more. Later that evening, Ronald found her by the fountain, hugging her radio close. "You eavesdropped," he said quietly. "I didn't need to," Anna replied. "The whole house is whispering." "They want compromise," Ronald admitted. "A co-chair. You'll remain the face, but decisions will pass through the board." Her eyes burned, but she refused to cry. "If that keeps the doors open, fine, but I won't be silent." "Good," Ronald said, almost smiling, "because silence is what they want most." The article made her both hero and target. On social media, strangers praised her courage, while others sneered that she was a prop for a billionaire. Anonymous letters arrived, some filled with encouragement, others with threats written in jagged scrawl.
Anna felt the pressure like a weight pressing on her chest. At night, she crept to Samuel's quarters. He sat her on his knee like when she was small. "They think I'm a problem," she whispered. "They think you're a possibility," Samuel corrected, "and possibility scares people." The storm broke again a week later. Ronald summoned Anna to his study, where a single silver key sat on the desk. "What's this?" she asked. "The East Tower," Ronald said. "Archive room, my past, our foundation. You need to see it." Anna frowned. "Why me?" "Because you can't fight shadows without knowing where they're cast." The storm broke again a week later. Ronald summoned Anna to his study, where a single silver key sat on the desk. "What's this?" she asked. "The East Tower," Ronald said. "Archive room, my past, our foundation. You need to see it." Anna frowned. "Why me?" "Because you can't fight shadows without knowing where they're cast."
The archive was colder than any place she'd been in the estate. Cabinets lined the walls, each drawer labeled in neat black ink. She flipped through photographs of early construction projects, letters to investors, glowing newspaper clippings from Whitmore Enterprises' rise. Then her hand froze on a folder stamped Eastbrook Project, Confidential. Inside were photos of bulldozers plowing through small homes, families clutching boxes on sidewalks, angry protest signs, court transcripts with Ronald's name bold as defendant. At the end, a sealed settlement, money paid, lives displaced. Anna's hands shook as she clutched the file to her chest. The next morning at breakfast, she laid the folder in front of Ronald. His eyes flicked down, then back to her. "You found it." "I did." Her voice was sharp. "You destroyed people to build all this." "Yes." His tone was steady, but there was no pride in it. Her lip trembled. "And now you expect me to defend you?" "No," Ronald said. "I expect you to surpass me, to undo what I broke, to build where I once demolished." "You can't fix the past with a scholarship," Anna said, nearly shouting. "No," he admitted, "but I can give you the power to write something better." Anna pushed back her chair. "Then let me write it my way." For a long moment, Ronald only studied her. Then, slowly, he nodded. "Your way." That night, Anna returned to her room with the file still in her hands. She lit her lamp and opened her notebook. The words came hot, urgent. "We inherit scars we didn't choose, but scars remind us where not to cut again. I will not be silent. I will not be shaped by fear. Legacy begins where truth refuses to bend." She stared at the lines until her eyes blurred, then whispered into the quiet, "This is just the beginning." The weeks after Anna confronted Ronald about the Eastbrook file were different. She felt taller, though her shoes were the same size. Her words carried weight not because she shouted, but because people had begun listening. And with attention came more storms. At first, the Elise Initiative thrived. The pilot after-school program opened in Brookhaven, an hour outside the city. Anna insisted on visiting. She read books to younger girls, showed them how to use library cards, and listened to stories of overcrowded classrooms and absent fathers. When she left that day, she wasn't the same girl who had arrived. She knew the program was real. But back at the estate, the air had changed. Servants greeted her with polite mouths, not warm eyes. Conversations stopped when she entered a room. Some board members muttered that she was too visible, too bold, too much. One night, she found the greenhouse destroyed again. This time, not by Valerie, who was gone, but by whispers and fear. Pots overturned, irrigation ripped out, vines left to wilt. Security tapes revealed nothing, just shadows and static. Ronald said little, but Anna noticed his clenched fists. The board used the chaos as excuse. "She invites trouble," one man said. "The program is valuable, but her face on it is a liability." Ronald leaned forward. "She is the program. Remove her and it collapses." The compromise was sharper this time. Anna could remain as symbol, but a team of adults would manage operations. That night, she stormed into the library, Samuel trailing behind her. "They want to cut me out," she cried. "You scared them," Samuel said. "When flowers grow taller than expected, weeds panic." "I'm not here to scare," she said. "Then show them you came to plant." The very next day, Anna walked into Ronald's study and slammed her notebook on his desk. "I want to start a garden program," she declared. Ronald raised a brow. "Another idea already?" "Yes," Anna said, "a place where kids can plant, tend, and grow, not just lessons, roots." "You're 11, he reminded her. 12 in 4 months, she shot back. "You said legacy is what we build. Let me build louder." He stared at her for a long moment, then pushed the notebook back. "Draft a proposal. Present it at the donor brunch." For 2 weeks, Anna lived in preparation. Claire helped her format, Ethan proofread, Samuel suggested names. Finally, she stood in front of 24 donors, her voice firm. This isn't just a garden, it's a promise. I don't want to be the exception, I want to be the beginning. Silence. Then Miss Puett, a former school principal on the board, placed a hand on Anna's plan. Let's fund it. Others followed. Applause rose. But at the back stood Mr. Davenport, the rival, smiling like a man watching a storm gather. The garden project became reality. Volunteers, parents, teachers, even staff who had once doubted Anna began planting seedlings. In the greenhouse, a single sapling was placed at the center, roots wrapped carefully. Ethan handed Anna a small box tied with twine. Inside was a root cutting. "Plant it," he whispered. "Grow it." She pressed the cutting into soil beside Samuel's hands. It felt like planting a promise. But resistance didn't vanish. Soon after, a critical article appeared in a regional paper. Is the Elise Initiative sustainable when led by a child? Anna read it in the drawing room, hands trembling. Doubt pressed hard. Ronald entered quietly. "You want to talk about it?" "They keep asking if I belong here," Anna said. "Belonging isn't about acceptance," Ronald said. "It's about refusing to leave when it's hard." Her eyes steadied. "Then I'll stay." At the next community gathering, Anna stood before teachers, parents, and reporters. Behind her stood the sapling, now budding leaves. "When this began," she said, "people asked if a child could lead this. My answer is no. I won't lead. We lead. Together." She pointed to the tree. This root was carried across cold ground. It didn't grow overnight. It didn't grow alone. And neither do we. Applause thundered, stronger than before. That evening, Ronald approached her near the sapling. "You did it," he said softly. "We did," Anna replied. He handed her a navy ribbon, the same color she wore at her first dinner in the estate. "For your hair, when you speak tomorrow." She took it carefully. "Thank you." The 1-year anniversary of the Elise Initiative filled the estate with life. Teachers, parents, children, even skeptics arrived. In the great hall, the sapling stood in a large pot draped with ribboned lights. Its branches were full, its roots deep. Anna stepped onto the stage. "1 year ago, this was just a root in a cup," she said. "This initiative began with a waltz, an unlikely promise, and a little girl who chose to dance anyway. But roots only matter when they grow deep enough to break the surface. We weren't planted for survival alone. We were planted for growth." The hall erupted in applause. Reporters scribbled, parents wept, children clapped until their palms stung. Later, Anna slipped into the greenhouse. Samuel and Ethan joined her quietly. She placed a hand on the sapling's trunk. "We did it, didn't we?" Samuel smiled. "You did it. We just helped tend." Ethan added softly, "You're planting hope." Ronald entered then, his expression uncharacteristically gentle. He knelt beside the sapling, placing his hand above Anna's. "Not me alone, not you alone, all of us." For the first time, the estate felt less like a fortress and more like a garden. That night, in her room, Anna pinned the navy ribbon above her desk, beside the framed article that had once started it all. She wrote in her journal, "Roots hold us. Branches reach. Legacy grows when others take the seeds and plant their own." She closed the notebook and looked out at the estate glowing under moonlight. Beyond the walls, classrooms buzzed, gardens bloomed, families dared to hope. And Anna, the gardener's granddaughter, knew she had become more than a symbol. She was proof. Life is not defined by where you begin, but by the courage to keep moving forward. Anna's journey shows us that true legacy is never measured by wealth or titles. It is measured by the seeds of hope we plant, nurture, and leave for others to inherit.